Hi, and welcome to my capstone presentation. Let me go back. Welcome to my capstone presentation for Canyon KDS, KDS standing for Kitchen Display System. This is a modular process management system that's intended to help kitchens or really any type of business that uses a assembly line type of method to manage their processes. Let's go. So, in terms of project objectives, the goal of this project was to provide users with a workflow management system that's lightweight, intuitive, customizable, accessible, easy to learn and use, secure, reliable, and feature rich. The reason that I created this project is because I've worked with many of these systems before. A lot of them do not provide some features that are fairly obvious that I'll actually show you in a minute. That analytics, editing orders, finding orders quickly, and defining a custom layout are all things that many of these systems don't do. And a lot of them require you to have certain hardware. They are very expensive to set up and very difficult to use. This is one that's very, very lightweight, intuitive. You just download it and you can use it. So, in terms of project management, I used an Agile Scrum methodology. You can see an example here on the right of one of my weekly sprints. So we have the user stories that I chose to tackle that week, how long they were going to take, and then how much of them I did each day. And that's actually represented in this burn down chart here, where we kind of went behind a little bit during the middle, late end of the week, and then ended up catching up around day 6. Um, so that really just allows you to take bite-sized pieces off of your uh, development backlog and tackle them one at a time, and it really helps with development. Okay, in terms of interface design, you can see one of our UI wireframes here on the left, and then you can see the final UI redesign here on the right. So a lot of it is basically similar. We still have the views section and manager functions section. They've just been shifted to the left over here, and I added this universal order window here on the right, which shows you all of the orders that are in the system and where they are. You can see that they're all in station 0 in this screenshot. But a couple of just small quality of life adjustments like that, but for the most part we did adhere to the wireframes pretty strictly. Continuing with interface design, here's a sitemap of the application. So we have our login page, and then we land on the dashboard page where you can access the manager functions there on the right, editing your orders, editing the layout of your management system, and viewing your analytics. And then over there on the left, you also have View Station as well, which selecting view to view a station will create its own window, which you can place on a screen at the station that represents. As far as technical design goes, we have this logical solution diagram here. In the front end, we used Windows Presentation Foundation, and you can see all of our pages right there in the or our windows. In the back end, as represented by this big blue square, all of it is hosted on Azure Cloud. And then we have a .NET Core REST API in the middle between the front end and the database. And then it's not shown super well on here, but we also use a point of sale system, Faker, a simulator, to send orders into the system without actually needing to have a full POS set up, just for testing purposes. But it uses a WebSocket server. So using WebSockets, we're able to send orders to the API and then directly to the UI without having to pull the database, which is better for performance and responsiveness. So the only known issue right now is that I've had one instance of a bug where an order was duplicated by logging out and logging in quickly. Haven't been able to replicate this. It's possible that I fixed it by accident just while developing developing some other part of the application. But that did happen a couple of times, and I haven't been able to replicate it. And then risk management. So we had a couple of risks with this project. I wasn't experienced with WPF, never used it before. Or desktop application development in general. Most of my program has been focused around web application development. So that was kind of new. Didn't end up really being too much of an issue. A lot of the skills that I learned with web application development really did translate quite well, and the things that I didn't know were relatively easy to pick up on. Uncertainty about point of sale accessibility. So initially, when I proposed this project, I was intending to, or I was in talks with my employer about potentially integrating it with the point of sale system that they use, because they were kind of interested in it. The KDS system that they use isn't great, but that didn't end up happening. So I had to create a POS simulator in order to run this. And then uncertainty about the data format of said POS. I wasn't sure, what do the orders look like when they get sent from the point of sale system into the KDS. So I just developed my own data format. It's proprietary. I might end up creating a POS system that uses it in the future. Okay, so as far as AI, saying that you used AI for your senior project is a bit of a risky, saying the quiet part out loud, but AI can really help to boost your performance and your productivity if you know how to use it correctly. Leveraging AI tools like GitHub Copilot and IntelliSense can really help you to write much quicker with the code suggestions. Using it to solve coding issues that are just very difficult to think through can sometimes just help you to be a little faster. All of this being said, it's just imperative that you always understand the code that you're writing, because if you don't understand the code that you're writing, then how do you expect to maintain it? Um, as well as that, you can use it to as long as it's not sensitive data, you can use it to process large amounts of testing data, which is something that I did, or to generate large amounts of testing data. When tools when the available tools just don't have the level of customization that you want. All right, let's get into a demonstration. Um, so here we are on the login page of the application. I'll go ahead and log in with the user that I already have. Okay, so here we have our custom setup. It looks like I left an order in here. So while orders are sent to the UI via WebSockets, they're also asynchronously saved to the database. So in the event that you power down the application, or that there's a crash or a power outage or something, you do not lose those orders. It just prevents you from making API calls that are unnecessary. But we can go ahead and look at the manager functions before we get into workflow management. Taking a look at the analytics page here, we haven't taken any orders today, but if we go to the past week, over the past week, it looks like we've had an average of 0.8 minutes at stretching station, with 46.5% of the total amount of time spent in the system being at the stretching station. Our busiest day was Friday, from 2000 to 2100 hours, and our average ticket time is about 1.7 minutes. So this is all very useful information if you're running a kitchen. You can anticipate when your busiest times are, or you can look and say, well, why is stretching station, which I have this set up as if it was a pizzeria right now, so stretch would be throwing the pizza, but why is stretching station taking nearly half the amount of time that's really supposed to be a very quick station? Something's wrong here. Or let's say we implemented a change in the last month. You can see, okay, well, how's the last month been, and how is this week comparing? How is this change affecting our workflow? That kind of a thing. And we can edit orders as well. Well, let's get into workflow management first. So this is the one thing about this project, is that I don't have an actual point of sale system. So I have to run this console application POS simulator. It's just a little tool to generate a bunch of random orders and insert them into the system. Could have had this open before I started the presentation, but it's all right. It should only take a second. There we go. So if I recall correctly, the user ID of this user is 45. Yes. So you can see there, that was very, very quick, and that's because we were not pulling the database, we're using WebSockets. So orders that go in are immediately updated in the AI. These orders have come in and they're in the stretching station because stretch is the first station chronologically. And then you can see that I left this order in there yesterday. So if we go ahead and bump a couple of these, now in practical use, this window would be on its own monitor at the station that it represents, but I can't do that here on just my laptop, although I did have it set up that way at the capstone presentation. And then if we bump one of these again, we'll now see that there's one in stretch, one in oven, and one in expo, which is the intended purpose of this window right here is that, well, where's Rebecca's order? Oh, it's in the oven. And you don't have to go running between all the stations to find it. And then finally, we can bump this final one to remove it from the system. So you see Everett there, bump it, and now it's gone. We can also edit orders. So let's say that we got Juanita's name wrong and it was actually my name. I don't know how they misheard that, but we'll update the order. And then there we go. Colton Quaylar actually ordered that burger. Editing orders, you just select the order that you want to edit and it'll fill these fields and you can edit them as you wish. And then finally, we have edit layout, which you actually cannot do unless the system is empty for obvious reasons. So let's go ahead and get rid of these. Now let's say that you're setting this up for the first time or you've rearranged your kitchen layout. You can come in here. Let's say that we're missing the topping station. So let's say you want to start putting toppings on these pizzas, which you weren't doing before. You can add it. You can drag and drop these to put them in place. And now we have stretch, topping, oven, and expo. So that is my project. That's everything that it does. And now is the part where I would go back and ask for questions. So I guess if you have questions, you can. I guess if you ask questions, you're free to DM me on Halo. But thank you so much. It's been a wonderful semester, and yeah, thank you so much.